Hey guys, I'm out here on the water to probably bring you one of, if not the last, instructional video from the water this year. This is one that we were asked about during the slider video, and today I'm going to be bringing to you how to stack rods on a downrigger. It's a practice that has kind of gone by the wayside. It was real popular until some other products such as the stacker sticker and some other methods like the offshore mini releases came out, and also with the advent of some of those long lines, the weighted lines that we're using now. Like I said, it's kind of gone by the wayside, and it does have its pros and its cons, and we're going to discuss those with you here in just a second. So first of all, one of the pros is going to be it gets you an extra bait in the water. Okay, it also allows you to use fewer downriggers. Way back in, say, the 70s, you used to see boats with a whole array of downriggers across the stern, because that was the only way to get your baits down to the depth where the fish were. Okay, now with like I said, with weighted lines, we've gotten away from that practice. So if you didn't have a really wide boat where you could run 5 downriggers across the back, one of the things that you could do was stack one line on your downrigger cable and then one line being attached to your downrigger cannonball. Okay. That does require to use stacker setup to keep that top line attached to your cannonball or to your downrigger cable. One other pro to stacking 2 rods or even more on a single downrigger is that you don't have all these lines out to the side of your boat. Okay, if you're running in really heavy traffic, maybe fish are stacked in tight around the pier heads, you can get another rod down or another lure down in the water without having all these lines out, potentially getting tangled up. Another pro to stacking is that you can more effectively run longer leaders or different length leaders, as opposed to being stuck with a fixed slider length of, say, 6 feet. Okay, obviously you can run those longer. However, it's much easier to run, say, a 100-foot leader from your cannonball to your bottom bait, and then run a 50-foot leader on that top bait. It would be very difficult to manage a 50-foot leader on that slider. Is it possible? Yes. It could definitely cause you some issues. And yet another pro to stacking is that if you take a fish on that slider, say a free slider, you don't have that immediate tension from the rod on the bait. Okay, you've got to crank that bottom bait up to the slider to get tension from the rod. Okay, sometimes that results in lost fish. With a stacked rod, you have that tension from the rod immediately, just like you would with a single downrigger rod. And with any technique out there, there's always some negatives, some cons, right? So a couple of those are that in the state of Michigan, where I am right now, stacking is 2 or more rods on a single downrigger. It's going to cost you 1 rod per fisherman for every rod that you put on that downrigger. Whereas a slider, whether it's a free slider or a fixed slider, that still only counts as 1 rod. We're not limited by the number of baits. We're limited by the number of rods per fisherman. Okay, another con is that you're potentially going to say take a hit on that bottom bait. That potentially could get fouled with the top bait as that swims up, whether it's because the fish struck that bottom bait, or maybe you took a release on it and there's no fish, you missed the fish, that bait's swimming up towards the surface. Potentially you're going to run that bottom bait into the top bait. Just something to be cognizant of. It's the game that we're playing out here. Always going to have potential to tangle lines. This is something that you're going to have to weigh. Is the juice worth the squeeze, so to speak, for what you're trying to accomplish? Okay. So let's take a look at this stacker setup that I have for you, and we'll get one in the water and show you how it works. Okay, one of the first things you're going to notice for all you stacker purists out there is this is not a designated stacker rig. My stacker rig is on a boat that's already winterized, and I'm not able to access it. So basically it's the same thing. With a stacker setup, basically these two cables would be pinched together, crimped together, and you'd only have one snap there, followed by those two pinch pads. So what I've done is I've taken two single Downrigger releases. These are the kind that you would attach to the back hole or ring on a cannonball, and I've just taken one of those snaps and looped it through the other snap there. It's effectively going to accomplish the same thing. We got some wind to deal with out here today, so I'm going to go over this real quick while we're out of the wind. This snap is going to go around your Downrigger cable, and it's going to get closed. One of these pinch pads is also going to close around your Downrigger cable. Whatever depth it is that you want, that's where it's going to stay. And then this other pinch pad is going to attach to your line from your Downrigger rod of whatever bait it is that you want to run. Okay, so again, let's take a look at that in action. Like I said, we do have some wind to contend with. Hoping that I can get this camera out of that wind underneath the windshield here, and you're able to hear me okay. Alright, you might get a little bit more wind out here, a little further out on the deck. Wanted to make sure that this is nice and clear for you guys, what I'm going to be doing. I want to make sure this is going to be nice and clear for you guys. You'll notice that one of the things that I've done is that I have already put the rods in the rod holders. I just need to attach the top line to my Downrigger cable and then set it down. Other pinch pad, we're going to go to the Downrigger cable itself. This pinch pad is going to keep that bait exactly whatever depth it is above the bottom line. So guys. I hope that was very informative for you. For some of us, it's a refresher. Others, totally brand new information. Maybe some of you have been around long enough that you hope to never ever do that again. But there you have it. One more technique for your toolbox. One other pro that I didn't mention is you could run 3, 4, 5 rods, whatever it is that you want to run on there, off a single downrigger. If that's what you need to do, then that's entirely possible. It just depends on how many stacker setups that you have. It's an option. So thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and that way you'll get notified every time we put out some new techniques, tips, fishing reports, what have you. That way you'll be getting notified right away on that stuff. If you like this video, please hit that like button. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Be safe out there. Take care.